It is rolling, 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 rolling.
Request
And
is sent.
we're live.
What
Good
is up,
day.
LinkedIn?
LinkedIn, good night. And let me just set up the screen here separately because we have to do it in a certain way, in a certain manner, and only with a certain person who is going to introduce us in the mix. Let me just get Lyndon in. Hold on. Lyndon is not in yet. Hold 1 second. My hype MC. Hold on. So, folks, tonight we're talking about best selling techniques.
Let's live with Lyndon and Sharon.
Oh my gosh, you hit it my heart there.
It's good.
All right, love you.
When you die, I will do LinkedIn Live for you.
Okay, that's reassuring. It does. No.
I
Bye.
didn't even say it anymore.
You can say it. Goodbye. No, bye. Love you.
Everybody
Okay.
hugging on it. I hugging on Instagram.
I know, but I need to do the show. Come on.
Post it up, and then
Take care.
everybody will say, "Oh God, why posting that up?"
All right. Good night, folks. We always have entertainment from Zoe. All right, Monique, good night. But we're talking about modern sales techniques. Last week, folks, we talked about all the ways not to sell, and was just based on the premise of too many times you want to pitch our products, our services, versus trying to understand what the customer is going through and really be seen as a value provider versus just a transactional seller. So this week we thought we'd do the opposite and share some of the things that we are seeing in terms of modern sales techniques that you should be adopting. So, Lyndon, I don't know your perspective on this.
Times have changed, and we've always been saying that since 2019 when we started to collaborate on this. We've been kind of singing the song that change has been happening from long before. So,
Yep.
yeah. So if you want me to start, excuse me.
Yeah.
No, last week we touched on things like not doing research. Here's what I will do. Because I know that we have folks who are entrepreneurs, we have folks who are in the B2B space and the B2C space.
Correct.
Some of the things that I wrote down as notes are along the lines of B2B, but I also have a few ideas as it relates to the B2C, so we try to balance out the two.
All right. Hi, Gail. Good night. Thanks as always for joining us. And for those of you who are watching, let us know where you're from. Let us know probably of always what is a technique that you're doing in sales right now that you found is working for you, because that's what you want to talk about tonight. And your little insight could help somebody who is watching here right now, both on Instagram and on LinkedIn. So I want to draw reference, of course, to one of my favorite salespeople out here, which is Javon Feldman.
Javon,
I keep saying his name, Javon Feldman. And he was drawing reference. Hey, and look, he joined on the same time I mentioned him. I didn't even know that, right? So, and what I want to draw reference to is he was speaking about Jim Rohn. For those of you who don't know, he's a motivational sales speaker, I believe. ROHN, Jim. And he was mentioning the fact of, and he spoke about this many years ago, in terms of if you want to do sales, your role is always to be meeting people and introducing yourself to people and having conversations with new people every day. And Javon brought the excellent point of that's what the benefit of social media brings you to you now, is that you can actually meet hundreds of people versus one person, which I think is super important. And Javon, I apologize for pronouncing your name wrong all the time, because I'm big on name pronunciation, so my apologies. But I love the fact that, and you could go and follow his page, Financial Therapy. I think he broke it down really well, and it just kind of stresses on the importance, I think. And I would say that would be my main modern selling technique right now. You have to utilize social for the pure premise of it will allow you to get in contact with hundreds of people, let hundreds of people see your message, versus if you go about just trying to go one-on-one. So that's just my first thing in terms of a modern selling technique. You muted, Lyndon.
Yeah, so you're saying use social media, right? So
yes,
we're using social selling techniques. Cool. So let me ask. So what I'll do is that I'll ask you to kind of expand on what exactly social selling might look like, just to kind of further educate the audience, and then I'll kind of add. I will counter, or I will add to what you're saying with a added tip to your social selling. So go ahead.
Right. So you know me, folks. I'm big on social selling, especially on LinkedIn. It goes around the same issues that I keep seeing people, is that you always want to pitch people on social. My thing is you need to focus on having a conversation, and you need to invite people to a conversation. So I'm going to give you some gold tips, which I realize a lot of people don't do. Number one, you're posting stories to your Instagram, to your WhatsApp, to any medium, and you all aren't responding or interacting or inviting people in who are looking at your stories. So if you're posting something about your product, your service, or you're mentioning something and someone viewed it, why aren't you saying, hey, London, so you just watched this last story. I don't know if you're just scrolling through quickly, you looked at it in detail. We'd love to know your thoughts on it. Like, invite a conversation. What you need to understand is that you cannot sell to everybody. What you need to do is that in social selling, you need to understand and qualify people. So even though they meet and match your ideal client, the ideal client profile, invite them to a conversation versus immediately they watch a post. Hey, London, what going on? I say like my post. I think we should have a meeting to talk about my product or service because I can sell you. Don't do that, folks. It turns off people. Have an actual conversation. Conversations are what works. Right?
Yep.
Conversations work. And hold on, just shout out to Tiffany Sydney. She is joining from Trinidad. In terms of what I'm doing for sales right now, I'm trying to sell and instead of trying to show what I can do for you. So expand on that one for me, Tiffany, so I can understand it a bit better in terms of what you mean.
What Tiffany is saying there should actually be the reverse. But so I like what you're saying there. So I like what you said, JB. So my tip for 2022 would be value-centric selling or value-centric sales approach. And you can use that in your social selling techniques because of the fact that the messages that you are bringing are going to be value-centric. And with those messages being value-centric, it means that it will encourage engagement, it will encourage your conversations. Now, what really is value-centric selling, quote unquote? Value-centric selling is taking the things that you sell, but showing the benefit of it. And I haven't finished the video, but I'll share what this thing is. So I have a problem with my feet, my heel. So if based upon what I do, sometimes if I have to do a lot of standing, especially for this now that we are reopened to do training in person, I will get a bad pain in my heel. So in terms of my job, right, it's called plantar fasciitis.
Right.
So there are particular types of shoes. So I shop in a particular way. The interesting thing though is that there are particular stores that I buy from that I buy because the shoe is comfortable on the inside. It's also light on my feet. So if I have to do a whole lot of walking around, I don't have to feel as though I'm lugging around a heavy shoes, right? A heavy pair of shoes. If those respective retail stores, now what I'm saying here could also factor into B2B. If those respective retail stores start selling or showcasing their shoes from those standpoints, they will attract more buyers. Meaning, they will say, if someone is in the space of corporate, or if it's a salesperson, you have to be on the road a lot, but you still have to have a good professional look, then these shoes might be the best shoes for you because one, they're light on your feet. Two, the soling is padded. We might have that particular memory foam feet here. Excuse me. And if it is that you are experiencing pain in your heel, then this is one of the shoes where you would not experience that. So notice we didn't talk about the shoe is leather. We didn't talk about the sole. We didn't talk about the style. We just spoke about the
what you will experience.
Right? So we spoke about the individual, which is a persona, and the other one we spoke about the value that they will get because of how I could be. Once I'm comfortable, it means that I don't have to stop my day because my feet hurt. And the same thing happens. So that could go for Atilogo, it could go for Detour, all shoe stores. Atilogo actually have some really good women's shoes, and the shoes are padded on the inside. All right. So that, especially for women who are out on the road a lot, so especially for nurses. So again, if they sell from more of a value standpoint, you could find yourself selling a lot more shoes, bringing more people into your social channels, and also just bringing more people to your store. So value selling, folks, instead of having to sell an item, you sell the value of that item. And I just gave the example of a pair of shoes.
Let me just bring up Gail and Tiffany's. Tiffany responded. So she said, Gail is saying, when people reach out, I ask questions to find out what's going on in their business, what's the challenge they have and how they think it can be solved with my help. Then we go from there. I focus on working together to come up with solutions rather than selling. I love that. What I actually like, because Victor Antonio always told me, I saw him on a video say it, and I thought it was excellent. He said, when people reach out to you, you have to ask, like, what do you know about me so far? Because I love the fact that he mentioned that because it kind of lets you understand what they perceive that you could help them with, and it kind of guides the conversation in the right way. And Gail also said she's dealing with that same heel problem now, Linda.
Yep.
So Tiffany is saying she does graphic design. I'm no longer going to people and say, hey, I do graphic design or offer this service. I look for people who can use my service, and I introduce the ways that I act of that I introduce the ways that what I do can actually benefit them and in the long run. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So if it is that we had to expand on what Tiffany was saying as a graphic artist, Tiffany, you would be adding value to any one of us because you are helping us properly present our brand.
Yeah.
Right. And if it is that you're also giving us advice in terms of how we should represent our brand and our branding colors and all those little different things, you are giving us visibility, and visibility adds to more potential customers, and more potential customers adds to money. Right. And
Correct.
so even if you have to sell that, you could sell it without saying that you're a graphic designer, but you can talk about what bad branding looks like. What a bad logo, how a bad logo affects your brand, and why it's important to have a logo, or just start teaching people who wants to pay attention to those things more. And that's how you actually start doing the value sell. And then you can use your social media experience, similar to what Jared was saying. You can now start putting that on your social platforms, and just really kind of grow from there, because you could have an omni-channel approach.
I would want to always give this advice too. In your case, but Tiffany, I would sell time. So my thing is, I may not be I do graphic work for like my stuff, but I know I'm not an A in it. Hey Ishmael, good night, the boss. I'm not an A in it. But more importantly, it actually takes me a long while to put out the content. So if I see somebody who's putting out, and it might sound messed up, like if I see them putting out decent content on their page, I would message them and ask, hey, I love the content on your page. Can I ask, is it this something you are doing to produce for your page? Or is it something that somebody is doing for you? So immediately you could ask a quick qualification question, right? And if they say, no, we do it for ourselves, don't offer your services, because remember we spoke about that. I would ask, oh, congrats, that is excellent. Let me ask, how long does it take you to actually create each graphic work? Because what you could point out, and I see it for a lot of people, is that there's inconsistencies with the posting. So you don't see a post happening every day, or it's not even happening on the same day. So therefore, I could even dig in deeper and understand if the person is not putting out content consistently because they don't have the time, because it takes them too long to put out the graphic work. Your actual selling for them is time.
It's time.
Because if you could actually produce the same work in a shorter time frame, that means they could produce more content. And if on average you're getting 2-3 leads for their business from the content, but they're only posting it once a week, if they start posting it 2-3 times a week now, they're actually creating bigger visibility with their clientele. So that's how it actually sell them the benefit. And then I'll lead it back to where you round up the question by saying, do you think having a service like this will actually allow you to sell more, have more conversations with clients, but it also ups the quality in terms of how your brand looks towards potential customers? So good night, Bernice. Good night, Emily. We're talking about modern sales techniques. We're just touching base on social selling. So let us know some of your things that you're doing right now in sales that are actually working for you, because it will help out others in the audience. Rita, this is one of my new connections from Nigeria. She's saying that's the best way to approach selling. Show off what and how you can assist, and get into action. Eventually, sales are already in the process then. And Tiffany saying, yes, she fully agreed with your advice. I know you're not finished yet, but this is still absolutely nail on the head. Cool. What else? What do you have in your modern playbook, Lyndon?
Modern playbook, I would say, so this would be for my B2B folks. I would say that you could really start looking at adopting. So we still have companies taking buckshot or birdshot approaches to sales, right? So we could now start being a little bit more laser focused and pay attention to what Jared and I spoke about just now. So if we're talking about being value centric, if you're now looking at from a B2B standpoint and you want to now focus on specific industries, then you can have a little bit more of an account-based sales or account-based marketing approach, or a collaborative approach between those two terms, and go after those industries. And it just simply means look at who have been your past clients and identify if there's more of those people in your market, and look at the value, the same thing that we just spoke about there with value. Look at the value that you've been able to give to those customers and say, okay, we want to now expand this to more people. It's It is a strategy I use now, and what I do, it's a strategy that I've implemented in the past with other organizations. And we've seen where when we felt as though we were servicing a good size of the market, or what we felt was a good size of the market, when we really paid attention, we realized we didn't even have enough of the market in the first place. But the good thing is that we had the experience. And because of that experience, we were able now to position our value offerings, and we were targeted. So whether it was attorneys or schools, etc., we had an account-based sales and marketing approach that went off. So ABM or ABS is my next strategy for 2022.
I agree with that 100%.
No more birdshot.
Hey, Doreen, good night. How are you? Because I think I mentioned that with a client, with a discovery call with a client last week, because the thing we kept asking was who your target market is, and they weren't sure. And I said, but it causes burnout when you just shoot out everywhere.
Mhm.
Like, and I keep telling this to everybody I'm talking to now. It's like, I don't want a shotgun, I want a sniper rifle. Like,
Yep.
we need to focus, especially when it is you're trying to, and this is important for B2B, especially when you're trying to counteract the loss of sales. You cannot shoot wildly, because you
Yeah.
would actually lose more sales. What you need to do is actually understand who you're trying to shoot and be more focused in that approach, because that day in particular is terrifying with people. They lose in business and then they do a random shot. So
Yeah. Yeah.
My modern selling technique tip, of course, this is going to be I know people would expect this, but you'll need to start using LinkedIn more, folks. Please. Like, honestly. I know you might think I'm just exaggerating it because it's what I push, but I keep seeing this one example. If you're not seeing, think about this way. If you are not seeing your content and your industry on LinkedIn, doesn't matter if it's your product or the competitor, if you see nobody on it talking about it or how it helps the client, but you see your clients on LinkedIn, I keep asking, who's talking to your clients? And that is why you
Yep.
need to actually spend more time producing content. And it could actually get in contact with the decision makers a lot faster. Just putting that modern technique out. And by the way, I'm not discounting phone. I would always tell everybody, doesn't matter the industry, phone I think is still one of the most potent, and I would say top 2 ways that you could reach out to clients. But you always need a help and effort with regards to getting in front of your customer using more mediums. And if people are guarded on the phones, then getting their attention on social media, especially on professional platforms like LinkedIn, might actually be the best way.
Yeah. So I like what you're saying there too. I'm not sure if we had any comment on what is birdshot in terms of marketing. shoot and spread is like throwing mud on the terminology that we call throwing mud on the wall and hoping something sticks. So birdshot is just you fire it, it goes all over the place. It's almost like how people use email marketing. They just have a group of customers in their database.
It's not segmented.
And they just think that they just need to spread it out to everybody. So they send it to 100 or 1,000 people, but it's really spam, and you get low results when your results could be higher. So what Jared spoke about is segmentation. So you can segment from a sales standpoint specific groups of people, either via job title, job function, industry, etc. Or you can actually look at it from product based, services based, that type of thing. So that's what it means when we say no more birdshot, no more birdshot and buckshot.
I'll put it this way: birdshot marketing is when you run an ad campaign on social media and you just click 18 to 70, the whole of Trinidad and Tobago.
Right.
And you just click send, and then afterwards you complain about the ads not working. That doesn't get you any results, folks.
Yeah.
So I was pulling up Ishmael comments because Ishmael is one of our favorite people who does execute anything that we tell him, which is one of the things he loves. So he said, I did a discovery call and applied the asking questions and really knowing the customer and the pain points, and converted almost 3 paid clients this week.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. Congrats, man, as always.
That's
one thing he likes to do is practice it and convert.
Yeah.
Right?
So I want to add, and this will kind of tie into what you're talking about, but I just give it a little bit of a shift. So video content, right? So video is a big form of selling now. So Jared was talking about using video or putting your stuff out there via video on the social platforms. I would also advocate for creating video content, using it through different mediums, and using it to nurture your customers who are at different stages of the journey. Right.
Yep.
So what does that mean? Excuse me. It means that you can now have, whether it's short demonstrations, it could have you doing explainer videos, based upon whatever you do, what services that you provide. If there's a question that a customer is asking or customers ask, create some video content that you can share with them, because that can actually help you close the deal. That's actually a big part of the things that I do now, because I may have I already have the customer in my CRM. They're not on social media anymore, right? They're not on social media anymore. That the content on social media has already done its part. So the customer now is in my CRM, or the customer is closer to me, but they may have questions. They're not ready as yet to convert. So what do? I have different bits of content that I can share. I can explain to them with some text, but I will say, here's an example. So what I've done, I've built a repository of videos. And sometimes the videos that you all may see on social media are actual videos that I use towards conversion. So I'm walking the customer through the funnel. So invest in creating videos, and those videos could be used at different stages of your sales journey. Vidyard is a brilliant tool. Jared, you know about it.
Yeah, Vidyard is life, boy.
That you use to store your videos. The reason
I
why
didn't even know it had a minute limitation on Vidyard. I sent a 12-minute video on Vidyard. I thought it had like a 5-minute limit or something. Vidyard is life.
Yeah, and the reason why we talk about Vidyard as well too is that Vidyard gives you the ability to understand how much of your video that your customer, your lead or your prospect has actually looked at. Again, you're using value selling in your video, but you're using the video to distribute. The same things that Jared will talk about: building authenticity, getting the person to be familiar with who you are, they getting to put a face to the name, but they're hearing you. Even if you're doing a demo as well, they're actually hearing the person that they would potentially be doing business with.
I'm just responding to somebody here. All right, so let me highlight and dive in a bit more. The reason why I want to create a database too as well of all your videos is that think of it as a FAQ, but in a new method. And what you also want to do is that it kind of creates that personal touch with you explaining it. But then, and you're correct, Gail, is a repository. Think about it this way. Imagine if you just finished sending a proposal to a client, you could do a series of follow-up videos. That isn't, because remember, every time you submit a proposal, you're always in the stage of, well, what do I say besides, hey, Lyndon or Colin, to follow up on the proposal? You could actually think about, usually when we send a proposal to a client, they're in 3 mindset stages. And if we create video content based on that, that could actually be our follow-up cadence to them. So in other words, I have a proposal. Instead of Jared actually hounding me down, there are 3 things that he sends me that actually would be along the lines of what I'm thinking. That gets me closer and closer along the line. So, and by the way, folks, everything we've mentioned here so far is free. Everything we've mentioned so far, it takes time to set up and implement. But when you have it, it just runs seamlessly. Because I am doing something similar like this with a team that I'm coaching, and a lot of them said that it was a bit intense and a lot to do. But I said, when you have it ready, all you have to do is just click a link and send stuff to your clients. You no longer have to be always creating and doing over stuff from scratch. So, quick bit of advice, right? But I think overall, and for those who joined, because I know we had a little bit of rotation in viewers, we were talking about how not to sell last week in terms of always pitching our product. But what we're talking about now is modern selling techniques. So, ways that you get your customers' attention. Of course, we're going to stress a lot on social media platforms. We're going to stress a lot on video, because I think those are underutilized tools, and it's one of the fastest ways to build trust. So I think when you look at what is happening now in the market with modern selling techniques, the reason why I want to implement some of these new things. Yes, Bernice, we saved the lives. You can check it back in my live section. All of them are there from the last week. So if you missed this, trust me, it goes right up immediately after. And
you can also catch it on YouTube channel too.
And it's on our YouTube channel. I'll put a link to the YouTube channel somewhere. But here's the thing that you need to look at. Over the last 2 years in particular, your buyer has changed. And what should actually drive you to make these changes is the fact that sometimes your competition hasn't changed in their techniques, and your customer is burnt out because they're seeing old techniques, but they're trying to buy in a new way. And if
Yeah.
you come in that new way, you're immediately going to get the attention and the business opportunity.
Yeah. And I will say this too, right? Apart from just the buyer changing, because what's really sort of changing is the buyer's behavior, their access to information. So things that, and again, this might seem old information, but it's still very current now because people are like still learning it. But again, their access to information, how they go about making a decision, who's actually involved in the decision-making process. And again, this is for B2B and also B2C. Like for instance, talking to someone in the sales industry and they're telling me that they lost a deal. Why? Because someone else was involved that they never spoke to, right?
Oh, yeah, boy.
So, and that person recommended a vehicle. As a matter of fact, that person had more control than the person that they were talking to. And that was because they didn't just ask, okay, so how about you come up on Saturday and anybody else that you need to get verified, bring that person as well. So you create some sort of engagement where you get to meet anybody else that's behind the scenes that may have an influence. And that's why it is not one of the 2022 tips, but it's a tip that I would always recommend. Using the right set of questions, and maybe we should just log it as a 2022 tip in terms of listing out all of the questions that you believe you need to know about this customer, whether you're selling direct from customer to customer or you're going through a business to business thing, because there are people who influence your deal that you don't know about. And in many instances, we might talk to someone, that person will give us good leading information, but they're not the decision maker. And we walk away with a false sense of hope that this deal is going to close and things are happening in a negative on the back end that we don't know about. So before you report anything positively, always throw some questions out there to your clients about who else might be involved, what goes about in terms of making a decision, etc., etc., etc. So you get a better picture of what the next steps are with the customer.
And it allows you to control the conversation. So let me highlight this for you. Every time you every time you encounter that scenario where you're only dealing with one person, you need to specifically ask who else gets involved, or actually you could say who is usually involved when you're doing transactions like this. Because in most cases, most persons aren't doing this by themselves. And I could give you a real life scenario. I had a meeting with a client, and I'm talking about I thought I had all the decision makers in the room. A stick was thrown into my bike spoke wheels, and I wasn't aware of it because I had outgoing CEO, current CEO, marketing manager, and marketing assistant in. Right?
Right.
Then in the second follow-up meeting, the same crew, but the training manager came in. So the person in charge of helping me say, so great, I have the people in the room. Right, I could present everybody on board. They like the direction. Then they said, Jared, we forgot to tell you, we actually hired a commercial manager, and this person coming in at the start of August. So they will actually be the one handling the project, and we want them to give their thoughts and feedback. And I'm like,
there's a lot of work that went on there from before, yeah.
I was like, really? And at the same time, it's 50-50 because I vexed with them and I vexed at myself because I'm like, you thought because they were there and as decision makers, you thought you had. It's like, no, it have other like.
Yeah.
So
it's that comes up to that comes back, JB, to the question that we normally like to ask. Like if we're going to be sending a presentation, a proposal, we would normally ask, okay, so we're going to send the proposal and the proposal is going to cover this and this. Question, Jared, is there anyone that we are leaving out that we should factor in this proposal? You understand? So you're giving the customer the ability to say, oh, we actually have somebody, because I've seen it happen, right? I've seen customers say, you think we should bring in this person? And I will just ask that person, them, well, who is that person in the scheme of things? So that's important to do.
And then, all right, so I know I don't want this to share because we give those examples, but in terms of this is going to be an out of the park one for everybody. A modern sales technique you need to implement right now is confidence. I see a lot of people right now don't get stuff moving along the pipeline because you're not confident to actually ask the customer, for example, or actually push back on the customer when they ask certain things. So Gail brought it up on a good point here, which is I posted a video earlier this week or today, and I'll highlight it here in the chat now, where they said, you know, when customers tell you, send me a proposal, you get excited thinking they're actually closing a deal or they're interested. Let me tell you all, folks, anytime a customer tells you, sorry, to send them a proposal, that is a brush off. But the person gave a good response by saying, what do I need to include in this proposal or email that is important for you to actually make a decision? And the thing is, if the customer was really listening, they would highlight the one or two key things. Good night, Gemma. But if they weren't listening, they would just tell you, no, send everything. They're not interested. Yeah. But this is where the confidence needs to comes into play. You actually need to push back and say, hey, listen, Linda, most customers who actually tell us that really have no interest right now at this point in time at really considering the product. I don't want to waste your time by filling up your inbox. But if you could let me know if I probably caught you at a bad time or probably need more time with you to help you determine what exactly you need for your organization, I'd love to reschedule that next call.
Yep.
But the confidence factor, folks, I'm not seeing it in a lot of people, and you're allowing the customer to control your conversations and transactions, and that's not a good thing. You should always have the control, because you need to have as much respect for you and your time and your profession as they are taking it for their time. You need to be just as guarded.
Yep. And so, again, that as Jared said, you need to build your confidence. We may do that now but it's confidence that we would have raised over time to say, you know, before I send you this proposal, there are a couple of things that I think that we need to discuss before, you know. So I want to just throw one more tip in there that I think it's.
And then I'll drop one more back to the same proposal thing, but I'll drop it because there's something important.
So the last one, when we're talking about ways to sell in 2022, I would want to touch a little bit on focusing a little bit on customer success or customer centricity. Why? Because of the fact that if we do a really good job in terms of how we sell, our customers will eventually sell for us. You follow?
And they sell us and no.
Customer success is really important. When that's why it goes back to everything else that we've been talking about before, right? Selling on value, doing the right level of discovery that Ishmael spoke about, submitting a proposal that we know is going to be a winning proposal for the customer and for you as well. And then when everybody is happy and the customer is happy, they will be able to talk about the change that you would have made, you know, in their life. Again, whether it's shoes, it's a wig, it's a piece of software, whatever it is, because every little thing that you sell has value. So using customer success through proper customer centricity is really, really, a good way to sell, because you don't focus specifically on the customer, who your customers are, you know, why it's important that you focus on this particular group of customers, and the end result is what you measure, and based upon that, you use that as leverage for future referrals. That's how you build a referral program.
And it's especially important in B2B sales, because especially when you look at, if you have a recurring revenue model, it's harder to get new customers and to retain existing ones. So you should implement customer service techniques, customer success. I wanted just to bring up one that's worked for me. It goes back to the same question that we spoke about, as in, what do I need to include in the proposal to make it successful or to make it beneficial? And what I would always tell persons to do before you send a proposal to a client, so before you send it, tell them you want 15 minutes to walk through the proposal with them. And then what you want to do after, along when you send the proposal, you're going to record a video, upload it to Vidyard, and send the link to the video, which is a screenshot of you walking through and explaining page by page what is on the proposal. I am telling you, this works wonders, because when you hand that proposal off, yes, even though you might be talking to all the decision makers, the influencers, when they meet to discuss it, you are not in that room. So you need to ensure that there's some kind of message or some voice that could be there that will give benefits on your behalf. Right? I saw Kira saying, selling for the need. I see a need and I try to sell my services. So I'm seeing Kira is, if I look correctly at your business, Kira, it's recruitment, right? Or not swiftly recruiting and staffing, right? So swiftly recruiting and staffing, which of course means, I'm assuming it means that what you're doing for organizations is getting the right people in their organization quickly, right? So what I would, especially now, because you're in Greater St. Louis, St. Louis, it means that, especially with the amount of hiring and stuff, um, first things first is connecting employees with the best and top employees. So if it is identifying the need, I think one of the best ways you could sell right now, there's a bonus step. You need to niche, like get real specific. And I'll give an example. I remember when London, there was a bunch of layoffs at LinkedIn, and it impacted the LinkedIn recruiting team, like the people who do hiring for LinkedIn. And when I spoke to one of the guys, he said he's actually leaving. Well, he's leaving, but what he's starting is a recruitment agency that only focuses on getting people of color into roles in SaaS in the tech industry in Silicon Valley. That is how Nishiman went to us. And you think that is madness. When he said it, I was like, that make real good sense too, because that's a developing market that needs representation.
Yeah.
So, and he's doing an excellent job at it now. So,
Yeah.
that'll be, and the only reason I mentioned niching down Kira is that when you actually focus particular like that, your message gets really refined. And of course, it allows you to up the value that you provide. Instead of being a generalist, you become a specialist. And if there's a particular industry that's being impacted really hard, you have the benefit of being the one that can actually provide that service as in your words swiftly.
Yeah. If we could just dig into Kira's space a little bit, just as an example, because Kira actually serving two customers. Kira has a B2B customer base and she has a B2C customer base, right?
True.
So she needs to keep filling a repository of customers coming into her from on the B2C side. And then she has to find the right kind of customers coming in on the B2B side. So yes, she is niching, but what she can also start doing, Kira, let's see if we could now align everything that we spoke about here tonight back into Kira's thing, right? So if we're talking about from a value-centric standpoint, I would want to suggest that the content that you are creating on your social platforms, if you are so you're using social selling, but you're creating, let's say for instance, some video content, some written content, etc., to start capturing the right type of people. And as Jared spoke about, you're niching. Notice we started kind of collaborate all the things that we spoke about there, right? So you're bringing the people in, but they already know that if I'm coming to this recruitment agency, they focus specific on oil and gas or finding, their customers are oil and gas customers. They work with engineers. So the applicant has to be an engineer, and they go straight into, I'm using that as an example if we do any whole niche thing that Jared spoke about, right? So your content will do that. When the people and they come into your CRM, I mean, I still keep saying CRM, when they become applicants of yours, you can now start nurturing them with, what makes a good candidate. You don't always have to, so you can now use email marketing and videos in your email marketing to now tell them about how to manage and how to be better at interviews, etc., writing the best kind of resumes. So you are nurturing people who are now in your system because they already left your social channels. Now they're part of your system. And now you can also do the same thing for your potential customers on the B2B side, the clients who you're filling the vacancies for, because now you will be taking that same approach, but you're now nurturing on your B2B side. You're using videos to say, okay, these are what the applicants are looking for, so you're looking for gaps that you have in the B2B, you're coaching them to make them structure their stuff the right way, helping them write better job descriptions, etc., etc. So you're really using these strategies that we spoke about to nurture, balance, engage, bring more leads in, etc. on both sides. And I'm not sure if that made sense, but that is how I saw from you just mentioning that. That's how the quick snapshot I got of your business. You have two sides, and you have to do almost everything that we just mentioned here as a 2022 way of selling and stuff to both bring the right time of high quality leads in, and then of course now push that off to the other side.
And then what I would add to in terms of research, in terms of niching, I would find, I've been recently starting to use LinkedIn to target parents. I have a tutoring business. Yes. And one of my friends, oh gosh, how I could forget her name, boy. Oh gosh, her name jumped out my head. I apologize. She's very yellow, just like me too. The name just jumped out. But I helped her with some of her stuff too. But just to give it, just back to Kieran, thank you for the hearts and the claps, because those things help us, let us know we're on the right path. But in terms of Kieran, just to give you an example so you can understand, I would niche by looking, like, for example, what are the fastest growing industries in St. Louis in the area that I'm serving? Then I would look and see a list of companies that are actually doing the most amount of hiring. Then what I'll start to do is go on, and that's on the B2B side. Then what I'll start to do now is find the individuals on the side who are looking to be employed and start reaching out to them so that they could be part of my database. So now I'm reaching out to clients saying that I have this valuable group of people with me who I can actually bring to be interviewed by you. And a key thing with recruiters now is that you want to get a high placement rate. So it means that if you bring in quality placements who stay in a long term, because you are actually giving them content from the time they sign on as a B2C individual to say, these are some of the things that you should be aware of if you're interviewing. These are the trends in the various industries that you're applying for. And you don't have to space out your content much because you only focus on a particular niche based on who you're targeting. Because who you're targeting now, you can become more proactive because now you're going to these industries and saying, based on the seasons, based on who you're hiring, it means that in the next 3 months, you're coming up and hiring new staff. So can I introduce you to some potential candidates based on what you're doing? Or you just got seed funding, so you're going to be hiring. Can I introduce you to some potential candidates? So that's how you actually be proactive and actually showcase to them that they're actually on the ball and they understand their business and the impact and everything of what will happen if they don't get the correct staff. So yeah.
So good night to Christian Williams. Good night to Brent. Good night to the real Christian Atong. So
yeah.
Right. So, and of course, Gail, thanks a lot for the feedback as it relates to the points that we shared. And yes, customer success is a big selling point in how we sell today.
Massive.
It's actually, if you do that, you actually put more momentum in your sales process. You will actually be putting more weight on your back end and pushing your stuff forward because your customers begin to sell for you.
Correct. So let us know if you have any questions based on this. Let us know if you found it valuable in terms of reaching out to your clients in a better way. But I think these are just some of the modern ways that are really simple to implement on a B2B or B2C side that could really make it a lot easier in terms of how you do business.
Yeah. So can I just call them out quickly? So the first one that we spoke about, guys, was social selling. The second one we talk about is that using value in your social selling. So you're selling through value. We were then talking about ABM and ABS. We were then talking about using LinkedIn as a big part of your strategy. We were also then talking about using video. And then we went into, we spoke about Kira's example. There were one or two others in there between Jad and myself that I didn't write down, but we'll capture it when we're putting back when we're putting up the blog. And of course, customer success being one of the big ones at the end to focus on. There were other things in there like using the right kind of discovery. Jared spoke about how you want to strategically ask about certain things before you submit a proposal. Then after you submit the proposal, you're seeking that 50 minutes of your time. So there were other side nuggets in there, but definitely how you want to sell in 2022 is coming out of these specific points because they are extremely, extremely relevant now.
Nice. And if you enjoyed tonight's live, folks, please share it with a friend. Please tell people to join us. We love to have new people being added to our audience. And starting from August, we're going to be aiming to get in some of the guests and stuff that we targeted on the show. So stay tuned for that because I know you don't want to be seeing our faces all the time. Yeah. So you always want to be making sure. So yeah.
Our first webinar is going to be August 3rd.
August 3rd, yes. And the title of it, I think, is excellent.
Yeah, we will be focusing on your sales numbers. So we'll be breaking down the sales numbers. And it will lead into a number of different areas in terms of your strategy. So however you want to close the year and start the year, you should tune into that webinar. The page is going to be live before the end of the week so that you can start subscribing and everything. Well, start registering.
And getting notifications for the webinar. Hold on, Tiffany said it was an excellent idea. What idea was that? What did she say? My memory's so awful, yeah?
Tiffany, which one was that one?
Using LinkedIn as a sales strategy is another potential topic. Yes, Gail, we can hit on that. Have no fear. It will be a topic. Hold on, where is it? Let me see if
Thanks, Tiffany.
Oh, the graphic design. Okay, yeah, the graphic design. Right. I forgot about that. Yes, the graphic design part. And who's joining us, I think, because we have a Facebook view as well. So thank you. So, yeah, it's going to be, yes, it's selling time, providing that value, making that money, and ensuring that the rest of your H2 is going to be excellent because that's exactly what we're setting up for. All right, folks. So thank you for joining us. Stay tuned. We are going to drop that webinar details soon, and I think you're going to enjoy it, because if you understand your numbers, it creates that silent urgency in you to go out there and push every single day. Right?
We take a note of that, Gail.
We taking notes. But thank you as always for always showing up for the live and everything, and thank you everybody else for contributing. And of course, we're always available via DM. So send us a DM, send us a voice note. We love to chat. We love to talk sales. We love to help you all out. All right? Happy
All
selling.
right, folks. Take care. Peace. Good night.